lot of work, but through that came so many good things. At the end of a lot of hard work is this like beauty that you don't even know about. You had no idea it's coming, and when it comes, you're like, holy shit, okay,
yeah,
this is great.
You enjoy the unknown that like, oh, this experience might bring a new skill set. And then when you do look back and you zoom out and you see the journey thus far, you're like, wow, we have changed quite a bit.
Right. If you don't enjoy it, it's hard to do it for such long term. We overestimate what we can do in 10 years. We underestimate what we can do in a year. Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Raf, and this is my co-host, Zahir, the engineer.
Yo.
What's good, bro?
What up, man?
How are you doing today?
Chilling, bro. We built a playground set for my daughter in the backyard. It's got like a little slide and some swings. But man, you can't use it. Like for the better part of the day, it's just too hot. So we've been watching it, from the inside, AC. You just came back from a trip, right?
Right. Yeah, I was in Alaska. It was nice. You
enjoyed yourself?
Yeah.
You guys did a lot of outing, like.
Yeah,
you said that
a lot of beautiful places and glaciers, like saw a bunch of glaciers.
Oh, so you went out on boats and stuff?
No, glaciers are just chilling in Alaska. Like you just pull up to it,
Oh, wait, what? Wait.
Like, a glacier would be like a sheet of ice,
Okay, and it's just on land or no?
No, it's like in a valley of a mountain,
Whoa, this
Something
is
like
crazy.
Yeah.
Look, I can't even imagine it. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you got a little change of pace there.
Yeah, it was good.
So,
yeah, I like going outdoors. I don't necessarily get to do it too much. More so in the past couple of years. 2 to 3 years, I would say. No, 3 to 4 years. Yeah, the last time I went on like a camping trip was like 2018.
That was
which is like 4 years ago.
Multiple night camping.
Yeah. 4 years, 5 years, I don't know. But yeah, it was multiple nights out in the wilderness.
Actual tents, like
actual
you put like
tents.
A tent? Oh shit!
Actual tents, canoes, middle of nowhere where there's no network.
Holy shit! Just you against the elements.
Me and my buddies, like my family and my friends. So my wife went with me.
Okay.
We used to go at least try to go at least once a year with me, my wife, and my buddy, his wife, and like our little friends group. And every year people change a little bit in the group, but we used to go, and it was like in a place called Boundary Waters in Minnesota.
Okay, Boundary
and that's between like Minnesota and Canada. There's this little place that's just like nature reserve,
Oh, okay.
And it's very remote. It's very much like middle of nowhere, and there's like small towns, but they're far away.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, so like you kind of go there, and there's canoeing to do because there's a lot of lakes.
Sure.
You canoe to like a location where you're gonna camp out for the next few days.
Wow.
And it's nice actually. It's a really good break from like just regular life.
Yeah.
It really pulls you out. You
need that. You need that real reset,
right?
Where like you can't even reach me, and
right.
If the the universe wants me back, what I mean, at civilization, I'll be back on the 4th. That's kind of what you can say to people,
right?
And then really unplug and take time off. So you've been doing this like frequently, like
yes. So like let's see, the first time we did it was probably, let me think, I think it was 2014. All right, so that's like almost 9 years ago. It was the first time we did it. Before that, man, I never no. Okay, so in college, I once went camping with a group in like very remote Alabama. All right, it was like, okay, I don't know, because it was just like I'd never been there. These people like in my friends circle, they're going there, so I was like, fuck it, I'll go.
Wow. Okay.
So that was cool. That was the first time. I didn't know what I was expecting, but it was a large group. College kids. It was like fucking 15 of us.
Wow. Okay.
So like many cars. So it was it was more like a camping thing that was just like a lot of people, not so remote experience. Because like it's just fucking people everywhere.
Yeah.
But then like fast forward like 2014, I think. I went to this Boundary Waters for the first time because everybody in Minnesota talks about Boundary Waters. They're just like, oh, there's this place in the north that's just like fucking away from everybody. We love this. And you run into people who are like, oh, I've been to Boundary Waters for 2 weeks in the winter.
Damn.
And then you're like, holy shit, in the winter? So, so we were like, all right, let's check it out. Let's go.
Yeah.
And my buddy, he's like really into outdoor stuff, and he's really into fishing. He's into all of that. So he took charge. He was like, all right, I'm gonna plan a trip.
You need a leader like that.
Yeah.
You need somebody who knows.
Yeah, that's his
up.
like realm. So go do
Yeah.
and
lead. Yes.
Yeah. And then we linked up with another guy who is that type who experienced Boundary Waters many times, where from childhood times he's been there like weeks at a time, that type of guy,
That's
so it was like, all right, cool. He's coming with us. He's going to guide us. All right, cool. So the first time we were like, I didn't know what to expect, but like we were all just looking at pictures and stuff. Wow, this place looks amazing. Can't wait to go there. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And then when we go there, it was like, oh shit, this is a lot of work, guys. From the first, because when you go to the location, you go to a town, and then you pick up, canoes, and you pick up your supplies and all this stuff, and then you go to the part of the lake that you're gonna, embark on, and that's like a whole journey to another side of the lake. From there, you kind of have to hike for a few hours to like your campsite. And so campsites, you don't even know which ones are open.
Right.
We checked it out on maps, and like we're gonna try to go to some of them, and see which one's open, right?
Right.
So doing all this that I explained is like hours and hours of work.
Just
like
scouting.
This is like a whole day
Oh my God.
of canoeing and hiking. And you don't think about that before you have the idea that, okay, we're gonna go camping.
Yeah.
You don't think about all that.
This is your first time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was just thinking of the beautiful pictures and the we'll be in a canoe.
You're looking at the holistic picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you get there, it's like, holy shit, dude, this is really. And then I remember we're taking a lot of videos and shit. And there's this particular video of mine that I saw later where I was like, I was just walking, carrying this canoe, and my face was just like,
It's on you.
And then I wasn't even acting. I was just like that, Later on, I was like laughing my ass off. But it taught me a lot of lessons, and that's why the first time after doing it, it's like I never stopped doing it. You
did like it.
Yeah. So it was a lot of work, but through that came so much. So many good things, for example, one of the best things the first day was the first day was tough, right? From the morning we were going at it, we found a spot finally, and it's after a long day of canoeing and all of this shit. You get to the spot, and then you have to then set up the tents and figure out what to cook and all this stuff, right? It takes a long time. But after we were done with everything, for the day, it was maybe 11 p.m. or midnight maybe, you know? But at that time, when everything's done, you sit down, everything gets quiet, and you look up, and it's like, holy shit, what the fuck was I missing? Because
it's the stars.
The skies are intense. You can see every little star, everything that's happening.
Damn, I need to do that still.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. The first time for me was overwhelming because, man, I'm a city boy. I grew up in big cities, huge cities growing up.
Right.
And this was just so overwhelming. It's just oh my God, I'm fucking small, bro.
Yeah,
and you're crazy.
Yeah, and all the worries you had seem so much smaller.
It's gone. Yeah, and at that moment, all those, trekking through the bushes, oh man, when are we gonna get there? All those questions in the mind just disappears because you're just staring at.
You're
this.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
By nature. Damn.
That was a major lesson. At the end of a lot of hard work is this beauty that you don't even know about. You
can't fathom.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you had no idea it's coming.
Yeah.
And when it comes, you're like, holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
This is great.
This is why we trekked as hard as we did.
Right.
Or we roughed it.
Yeah. And then the rest of the days are more fun because then.
How long did you stay on that trip? How long?
The first one maybe it was 3 or 4 days. 3-4 days. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you set up camp tents. And
we set
sleeping on the earth.
Yeah, sleeping bags.
Spiders and everything. God damn, bro.
All sorts of things.
All sorts of. See, I didn't even
things.
go into the asterisk of that because that's the part that always scares the shit out of me is the wildlife.
Right. Yeah, and there could be bears.
See all that. Yeah, just becoming mincemeat. You know what I mean? And I've seen some of these bears get really curious.
Right.
With campsites, right? And they know how to work doors and shit. So
Right.
Yeah, I would go to Tahoe and I see like bear proof, like garbage cans and things.
Yeah,
and it's got like levers and stuff on it.
Right.
And you're like, dang, they have had some experiences here. So you did this camping thing out in Alabama.
The first time in college,
first one,
yeah.
and that was and then after that,
it was Minnesota.
So you didn't do any more in college? Like you didn't?
In college, I don't think I went anymore, but yeah, I used to go on a lot of trails and stuff, but I didn't go camping.
So then the next time you went camping was
like after college. You know?
Yeah. And was it with your wife?
Yeah, my wife, my buddy, brother I grew up with, and his like wife, at the time girlfriend, but his brother as well, and a few others. Like the first time, it was like 6 or 7 of us.
Okay, not as big, but still a group.
It was a nice little group. It was safe and it was remote.
Nice.
It was really nice. It's like it taught me so many lessons, bro. Like even the after that first day, the rest of those 3 days, it's like cake. It's easier, and then you can just like look around and explore,
appreciate where you are.
Yeah, appreciate where you are.
Yeah,
and it's like that's hard to know when you're going through the shit.
Yeah, especially unknown if you're doing it for the first time.
Right.
And I think that's what really is stopping me, if anything.
Right.
It's just the fear of the unknown.
Right.
But then after that, it becomes worth it, like you said.
It becomes worth it.
So what else was it that you learned? Being out in the elements.
Yeah, like one of the interesting things is that the first time I was like trekking through and like feeling like miserable going through that process, right? But the next time, because I expected it, it was just like, okay, we're gonna go through that, and then we're gonna canoe and all this shit.
Okay.
It was much more expected.
So you went, sorry, real quick, you went back to the same spot? Like, was this a regular space that you
It was like
place?
not the same spot, but similar locations.
Okay,
every year we would try to choose a different place.
Okay, for sure.
We went for a few years in a row over there. And but doing the hard shit the first time made the rest of the times like way easier. Way easier, because I also knew that the first time when I was going through to myself and maybe to my group too, I was probably complaining, But the next time I knew that I'm not gonna do that again. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain like that,
because
I'll just embrace more.
Because we know what's at the end of this. We know that it's worth it.
Yeah.
If anything, let's start enjoying even the journey.
Journey. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Like, and that's like that translates to everything else in life.
Man, yeah. Easy.
Even in this, like in our businesses, that things we're doing, it's just like the grind at the beginning is so tough. Sometimes like. It's like you have to keep it up every day. Every day you got to keep up the momentum. Yeah. Every day you got to put in like one more task, lay one more brick, just keep going. But during those times, it's hard to like zoom out. But it's so important to zoom out, zoom out so far that like you realize that this is nothing. This is okay. This is a very small thing that we're doing every day. And then,
enjoy that.
Yeah, enjoy that moment, because when you zoom out everything, you get perspective on everything, but it's hard to zoom out.
No, when you're in the middle of it, when you're in the middle of it and you're kind of going through, while you might be familiar with certain emotions and certain feelings, it's still unknown, because you might not have attained that level of success yet.
Right.
Or what you imagine it to be.
Sure.
But I think the trick more so is what you're saying is like, enjoy what you're doing present right now. Yeah, be present, embrace that part, and then, because what's coming later, whatever you quote unquote think success is, I don't think you can imagine. Right. I don't think how great you might be.
Right.
Like is in your mind already. I don't think it works like that.
No.
I think it has to exist outside of your imagination.
Right.
And put you in a space in life that you never thought you'd be there. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be growth.
Right.
If you could predict everything.
Yes.
For it. So even in the different camping trips that you went on, I'm sure you guys picked different things.
Yeah. There are new things we're growing.
Yeah. And to embrace different challenges.
Yeah.
All right, we might not have to canoe as much here, but we do have a 4-mile hike or some shit.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, you're on point. Yeah.
Things like that. Like
facts.
you pose different challenges to yourself, but then you come out on top.
Right.
You complain a little bit less with every attempt.
Yeah. And that translates in life too. Like, when you're first starting a business, like in your early 20s or like out of high school or like whatever your ambitions are, even as an artist, like when you're starting that, artist brand, it's just like, it's so tough. And then it's like, I know a lot of artists in that early phase who like get so needy sometimes, where it's like, man, I'm working so hard. Nobody's giving me a branch. Nobody's retweeting what I'm tweeting.
Yeah.
Nobody's hitting like on my shit, you know? But then once you do it a good number of years, you realize that, like, I was just complaining a lot in that early period. Right now I know that it's supposed to be like this. I'm not supposed to get that much traction at the beginning. I know that it takes some time.
It does take a lot of time.
Yeah. But at the beginning, you don't know that. At the beginning, you drop like 3 songs and like, hey, why is nobody listening to this shit?
Where's
like,
why haven't I signed my deal yet? Why aren't the brands calling? Like, dude, like it's
so many people go through that.
It's a level of legwork there. But I think a lot of it too, though, is willingness to create compelling content.
Sure. Yeah.
That people don't think that people don't view their stuff as subpar. Right. I mean, I guess it's hard to do because like this is your output. You're proud of it. Right. You feel like this should connect, but it doesn't. It doesn't ever work like that. Like creating compelling, undeniable content is a rare thing. It's not impossible, but it takes so much work and it takes a lot of like, what do you call it? Soul searching through like different phases of your life, like really growing. And then when it comes to the artistry, at least, like I think it takes like experience to then create that. I mean, there are those that you hear about in the business, especially industry wise, but there are major asterisks, you know what I mean, on a lot of the people who we deem to be idols in our space in music. For those of us who are really coming from the sidelines or from the parking lot, not even the nosebleeds, like you're outside of the stadium, like listening to the game get played, whereas like folks who may have just started out like in the bleachers, closer to the actual court, they have a different leg up. So for those of us who are coming from straight up way the outside, but we have passion, we have drive, like you have to be willing to enjoy this journey, and the growth from it. You have to enjoy it because it doesn't come back, man. And like I'm here to say that like as a witness, like 13-year-olds, to hear the level of like enthusiasm that you have to put up with the bullshit, it just isn't the same when you get past 30. And like you enjoy that, you enjoy like the unknown that like, oh, this experience might bring a new skill set to the front, or might refine what I already have even more so. And then when you do look back and you zoom out and you see the journey thus far, you're like, wow, we have changed quite a bit. We overestimate what we can do in 10 years. We underestimate what we can do in a year. And it's just like everything takes quite a while, and you have to stick to it for a long time. Like the best entrepreneurs stuck to their business for more than decades. Decades. They weren't thinking just like 5 years later we'll exit. They're thinking 50 years we're doing this shit. Through the ups and downs.
And so like if you don't enjoy it, it's hard to do it for such long term.
That's why a lot of people fall back on passion. People utilize that to get them through these ups and downs, and put them in a place where the repetitiveness or the tediousness that doesn't affect them because of passion. And like you forget. I think I was just telling you earlier before we started recording, like I forgot where the time went when I got back to making music. Because like I've learned so much to just enjoy like learning new things, and I still do, you know, and like I've made that my life, like a centerpiece of like my craft. So every time I go out, and I'm in somewhere in a new element or a new space, I'm learning to appreciate.
There's it requires this path, this creative journey requires a lot of work, and the audience doesn't get to see that. The audience gets to see just like the product, the release, the output. But like as the creators, we have to know that it's a lot of work, and we have to accept that. That's good, because Picasso said like, if our people like my paintings, but if they saw how much time and effort I put into each of them, they wouldn't think it's that special anymore. They'd be like, oh, well, of course. But then it's like, no, not of course. It's like it takes a different kind of will and a different kind of tenacity to stay at this shit for as long as you are. Because then, like
And yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's hard to view your music as something great when you've been in the thicket of it, you know.
Yeah.
But when people from only see that product and it does resonate with them, I think it makes it worth it.
Right.
And then like you remind yourself that like even that one person that reached out, even that one placement, whatever, like that was enough drive to keep me going.
Right.
And to enjoy life more.
Right.
You know, and like that's really why I think folks like myself and like yourself, like we chose the creative, we chose that path. It's because we really enjoy it. We want to enjoy every moment, even the bullshit.
Right.
Even when we have to hold the canoe up, you know, for like X amount of miles or whatever.
Right.
Then we got to row this shit too, you know? It's just like like it pushes you through it because like, you know, at the end of it, there's these stars that that put everything else to shame. You know, like in terms of your reservations or your doubts.
Yeah. It gives you perspective, and
man, I can't wait. Important. To get up to that ledge, you know, and like to be able to chill out.
Right.
And then it's also important, I think, to see that, to have like an end space, not an end goal, but like a place where you are content. Yeah. Or a place where you are content.
Sure. Right.
A place where this doesn't go till infinity.
Right.
And like you don't have to like just keep doing this shit to live. In my opinion, like hopefully there's an exit plan. Nothing too crazy, nothing too quick. You know, hopefully long live to your business and all that. But man, like, yeah, you start to have a kid. You know, you start to recognize what's important in life.
Right.
Yeah. Things start to you start to have a different perspective.
Right.
And what your output means. What your time having output means.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's good to start things with an end in mind as well, like how will this end, how will we exit,
like I can't keep hiking forever, man, you know, you keep telling me this shit's coming and it's not coming. Like okay there at some point there is your life is finite, so I don't want to say it's infinity, but it is important to embrace the journey.
Have you watched the show Alone, like ever?
What is Alone?
So Alone is a show, I think it was like National Geographic for some time, but now there are some episodes on Netflix. I actually forgot who produces it, but anyways, is this show that they pick out like 10 they pick out 10 contestants and drop them in the middle of nowhere in Canada, like usually like somewhere in the Arctic Circle in Canada. So like the first few seasons they've dropped people like in Vancouver, but like way deep north of, you know, like Vancouver, remote, and like just drops 10 people and oh my God, this show is brilliant because it's a contest for who can last the longest out there in the middle of nowhere alone.
For how long?
One person for however long, like till the last man, you know. And they're all separate. They're not like hanging out together, 10 of them. This is like separate campsites. They don't even see each other.
Oh my God.
My goodness, it's crazy.
That is nuts.
It is nuts. It's a crazy show, but it's just like very sticky show. Like I think the producers are so brilliant because they like once you start watching an episode, you're done. Like, you gotta fucking, you know, watch all.
See this out. Yeah. What's happening? Oh,
right. So yeah, this past week I watched the latest season on Netflix. Dude, this thing, man, it's so crazy. Like. It's kind of like you're watching people starve, like, because like it's, you know, food is the problem out there,
that's,
you know?
the first thing.
They gotta hunt, they gotta do all this shit.
You don't get dropped any supplies.
No, you just get to bring 10 things with you, and out of these 10 things, most of it's not food. You know, it's like lighter fluid or like fucking things like a net, you know, or like equipment for fishing, or like a bow and arrow. A lot of people have like, you know, archery.
Holy crap!
Shit,
but what about like water and stuff? Like, what do you do about that?
Yeah, you just make water there. You know, like
you said make water.
Yeah,
this is alchemy, Raph.
Like you take the you know, like the water
stream
from the lake,
water or whatever.
Yeah. And then like purify it. And
what does that mean? Purify? You gotta boil this shit?
Yeah, you gotta boil this shit because it's got bacteria.
Of course.
Don't even know. Yeah.
You can't just drink water. Don't drink water out in the wild.
Right. Yeah.
You could die that way. Holy shit.
Yeah, it leads to a lot of issues. So
wow.
That's you make water and like, or you collect it from the rain, you know, or if there's snow.
Okay. Oh my God. Holy shit. I didn't even think about that. All right. Snow, I guess like northern Canada, hopefully it's colder there. Anyway, so then Like,
Yes.
what was you were
So,
saying?
yeah, this,
sorry, derailed this.
No, you're good. Like,
Yeah.
it's so much, like, it's crazy. Like, you just watch these people starving and, like, but, like, the most interesting part is, like, the shit they come up with.
Yeah.
Because they're just in the middle of nowhere, you know, talking to nobody for, like, months, you know, like, I would say, like, on average, they've been going over 70 or 80 days in the wild.
Without speaking to anybody?
Yeah, just being by themselves
no
on
contact.
cameras. You know, they train for a week or so, like with, you know, using a bunch of cameras, and then they go out there
For a week or so.
Yeah.
And then they're out there for 80 days?
Yeah, they just go out there and start shooting themselves and like living a life. They start creating like houses and shit like that. It's crazy, but it's just like, you know, being in the middle of nowhere, they gain perspective. And sometimes it's very interesting to see that perspective because, like, we don't need to go through all that to get to that perspective when we can already get there. You know what I mean? Like, I like to ask myself, like, what would I do in that position, you know? Because one of the guys that I was watching in this latest season was like, he became a doctor. He was in the Canadian Armed Forces for a number of years. And so, like, becoming a doctor, you know, armed forces, all this stuff, like, takes you away from family. You know what I mean?
It
like,
does.
because you're so into it, right? Like,
Right.
you're so busy doing the shit. He gained perspective that he hasn't been spending enough time with his mom, you know?
Damn.
And so, like, I asked myself, like, if I feel that way, I should be doing that now. You know what I mean?
And learn from other people's mistakes.
Right.
Instead
Learn from
of
them. Yeah.
Instead of trying to always learn things the hard way. Damn, that's
Right.
really profound.
Yeah.
So people get perspective.
People get
when
a
they
lot of
like,
perspective.
when they remove themselves from the daily minutia.
Right.
That is, like, you know, whatever your craft is.
Yeah, and these people, they think back in their lives, they process all the stories that never processed, you know, they're just, and you know, some of them are, you know, they love doing the stuff, so like they've done it before, you know.
Of course.
But like it still like gives them so much perspective, like just being on starvation, like being hungry, you know, trying to do this thing, you know.
Yeah,
but
I've
like
never really been hungry, man.
when
like,
they get food, it's like a big deal, you know, like hell yeah, we got some, you know.
food.
And that's like there's so many lessons to learn, like just from being in the wild, like even watching people in like the middle of nowhere doing something that's just, there are lessons that you can pick from it. You know?
Away from the civilization.
Yeah.
Away from human contact.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
Right.
It's it just gets harder to apply with folks who maybe didn't get that reset.
Right.
Or don't know how to approach that reset.
Right.
You know, and I do think I encourage everybody, everyone listening, to get out there, you know, hike even for like an hour if you can, like on a weekend or something like that. Yeah. And then I think you'll just naturally find yourself spending more and more time out in nature. I've never been camping before. That's something that always makes me nervous, you know, just being out, like you said, remote. That's a very scary thought.
This, you know, we got to face this one.
No, and
we're definitely going to have to take you camping, bro.
I think that's something we should do, 100%. I think that would be, I need somebody, like my brother actually did that. He did some like really, really long trail. I think it was, shout out, bro. Him and his girlfriend, and then I think he went with another couple friend that they were experienced with this overnight hiking trail. And yeah, he said like everything was on his back, you know, like backpack type. And like you gotta have to really rough it.
Right.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty cushy, you know, I'm pretty soft underbelly in that sense. Like I need to get out there more and appreciate nature that way. Because I've been to, you know, we go to Tahoe. You do like little lake sports. You know, might go on a hike for like 40 minutes before you get wiped out. So I think I do need to build some stamina for sure.
Yeah, I think like you're on point. Like, do it with your brother and your dad. What do you think would come out of that?
Right, the man trip. No, I think Pops. I don't think he would do this anymore.
Okay.
You also have to be physically ready, right, for this.
True.
You said they do train for some time, right? In the
like
show?
in the show alone, yeah. But like you don't have to do like alone, you know.
No.
Alone is intense.
No, but like actually, so like I've heard of some of my family friends, some of the older uncles in our family friend circle. I think they're doing it wasn't Kilimanjaro. They were doing something else, some like big trek that's coming up. It's like a mountain. I don't think it's Everest because that sounds way too crazy. But he was training for it. Like it's like
K2
months
maybe?
out. Maybe some kind of mountain.
Do you know which country?
No, bro. I'm sorry. I just know that he's training.
Right.
And the fact that he is, like, they are going on hikes together, you know, for like 4 or 5 hours round trip, to be able to like get his stamina up. And that's my thing right now, man. Is like I'm gonna overreach, you know, first go and then just be completely wiped and never do it again for another like 5 years.
Right.
So I'm trying not to do hiking as much, but I would like to go camping. That shit does sound like what is it, a bear we have to tame, so to speak.
Yeah.
But see, that also scares me, bears, dog. Like that shit, that just like I just immediately think about, you know, like I've seen, and that's another like catch-22 with like the internet. With all the information that's out there, you see some crazy ass videos too. I've seen like hikers fighting off bears, bro. Like I don't have it built in me, like, and I have a daughter, bro. Like this is, you know, you start weighing out. Like, no, I don't want to skydive. You know what I mean? I don't think this is it. I don't think I'm here to experiment whether the chute's gonna pop open or not. You know, not on me. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. When we went to Boundary Waters, we had bear bags. It's like you pack up these bags and pull them up to a tree, like you kind of pull them up in the middle of 2 trees, so that, like, no bear can climb the tree and grab that shit, you know.
Oh my God! So
that's how.
All your gear would be suspended.
Yeah, all your food
air?
At least, like
food.
Yeah, food
was all suspended up in the air.
Up in the air, yeah, so that bears can get into it.
See,
but
the level of
I think though. I think like we were in Boundary Waters doing that shit, but like I think most of the time we didn't see any bears, because like I don't think bears want to hang around humans that much either. You know, like we're loud, little, you know, loud 20-year-olds. Like what bear wants to get near that? You know, like we have music going on in camp, and like you know,
it's a party, outside,
people are doing things, and I don't know. Like I just never saw any, but I'm sure. I know that there are
if they're like smaller groups, you know, if it's a smaller group. And maybe they're not making as much noise, you know, and like they encounter a cub, it's like, oh,
that's
shit.
A problem.
It's like
cubs are issues.
Yeah, you need to get
cubs mean the mama's near
somewhere, and you need to get out of here. I saw a documentary about a polar bear. In Alaska, like these campers. It was on Vice. These campers, like they set up camp, and they could see a polar bear perched like a mile away on top of like a rock sort of tundra thing, and they were like, yeah, he smells us, you know what I mean? And it's like, wait, what? Your scent carries like that? And it's like, yeah, you could see him like craning his neck up, like smelling. It's like, oh shit, the wild is different, you know. And like I'm already freaked out with like freaking bugs and flying bugs and shit like now. So no, I want to not think like that. I do want to try new shit, you know?
Yeah, in general, I think it is good to have some experience in life that are like away from like others and away from civilization, away from the regular norm. Yeah. Just to give like a little reset, you know. It's important to do that. I think.
Have a refresh and maybe gain different perspective when you do come back. Right. And you do have to address your old life a little bit.
Right.
You know?
It's good to zoom out. Yeah. And then like zoom back in, you know. Right. Knowing where you gotta go, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like even that show alone, like one of the most interesting things in this particular season on Netflix was that the guy who won in the end, like the winner got $500,000 in this particular season. Oh, okay. So that's I guess the incentive, right?
Great incentive.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy who won, he did the least work than the other contestants. Oh. Like, yeah, everybody was trying to get food, hunting, you know, fishing, trapping, you know, whatever they could to eat. This guy was like the last like 30 days of his stay there. He was like, you know what? I'm just gonna fast. I'm not gonna eat 30 days. Fuck it. I'm just gonna like fast the rest of this time. So he didn't spend any time doing any of that shit. He was just like sitting there, like just trying to live his best life. Just no food.
And if you don't move as much,
that was his plan. Like,
wow.
So honestly, like less is more.
You know? Less is more. Wow. And like I guess you'd be surprised what your body can do when it has to, I guess, like rely on itself. To survive, starts tapping into those fat stores, like for real.
Yeah, some of these people lose like so much weight.
They must have thinned out. They
like
must
50, 60 pounds. They just lose, you know, it's crazy.
Wow. That's a lot of weight to lose.
Yeah, but you know, if it gets too bad, the Netflix, you know, the producers, they'll come in and take them out, you know, but.
Right. So wait, so do you know how some of them got pulled out? Like any of the stories there that like, how about like, do you remember the person who tapped out first?
Yeah, dude, there's this particular season, bro. Like, Man, this guy is so funny. There's this season where by the way, I've watched all the seasons.
So how many seasons has this going now?
I think like eight or 9 seasons.
Holy
so far.
shit!
I've watched all of them.
Okay.
In this one particular one, bro, there was this guy who was like in the military, and he was like, man, he was all talk, all right? He was like, yeah. At the beginning, there are pre-videos, you know, like
of course,
before going, right?
Introduce yourself.
Dude, the guy was like, yeah, man, like, yeah, we're going to fucking, you know, take this over. Man, I've done this with the Marines, bro, you know? I've been in the middle of nowhere. We've been dropped in places, and, you know, I survived. It's nothing. And he went there, dude. Like, he was so much talk. He went there. In the first like few hours, he's looking around. He's like, "Oh man!" And this is in the north of Canada, right? Okay. He was like, "Oh man, there's no, you know, very less food sources. I don't see any rabbits running around. I don't know." You know, he psyched himself out, and then within the first like 4 or 5 hours, he tapped out. He was like, "Nah, I wasn't ready for this." You know, I expect. Man, what the fuck? So like, you know, in the military, he has teams. He has teams for everything. Yeah. You know, like especially Marines, you have the best teams around you. And this guy's alone here. Like, that's one big lesson in life. Is like teams will take you further, faster. Yeah, for sure. But like, you know, in a situation like this, like you gotta,
you have to figure out ways to be self-sustaining.
Yeah, you gotta, have different expectations. You know.
Yeah.
And
of yourself and of others.
Yeah.
But like more so of yourself in that like you're not gonna rely. On others. I think I don't think that's something that comes just like automatically. Right. Like if you are used to teams, like being on the Marines like that, that's where you derive all your confidence from, and then we take that part away. Yeah. Like I think it shows itself pretty quickly. Right. Also, the loudest ones tend to be the weakest. Right. So like there's also that whole trope.
Yeah, but show your worth through your work, not through your words.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Like, fuck that.
No, man, yeah. Hopefully that was a lesson, you know, some folks could take away from that. But damn, okay, so they. Yeah, I guess it's different in that sense. That you know, but having a team is a luxury too. Yeah. Right. Like having people you can rely on. Right. That will come through and deliver for you is a luxury. Right. And that's not something that I think is entitled. No. Or is something that's given ever. Right. Just because you quote unquote do something doesn't mean that you will earn the loyalty and the drive and the respect of others. Right. I think that's a whole different skill set along with experience being on your own. Right. Doing things on your own. Right. Having to be like, you know, a multifaceted producer. Right. In whatever field that you're in. Right. So like when you do eventually have a team, you can instruct folks on like a balance of autonomy and being able to collaborate, because you do want people to be autonomous at a certain point. I think as like anybody that might be doing business or might be like have something of their own, and that might be employing other folks, they have their own lives going on. They're coming in maybe as a face. And like you have to know how to sustain yourself and whatever you have going on. And I think folks that rely just on the team part, that's also a little crippling,
right? You know, and like, if you we all know that teams help you scale, so you need that, right? But like as entrepreneurs, as like new, as like brand builders, when we're starting our new things, our YouTube channels, and our creating our clothing line and things like that. Like when we're doing new things, it's like being alone in the wilderness, because it's like this thing isn't there, and we're the only ones building it. It's gonna grow into something, but today it's just me alone doing this
in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. So there you have to quickly learn how to sustain yourself, how to survive in that wilderness. But after going through that survival, after winning the little humps at the beginning, is when we can like start to know that how these teams will work with us.
You start attracting people
attract
into your nowhere.
You fill the jobs that you didn't want to do anymore. Like in the wilderness, like it'd be great like if you didn't have to like both do the hunting and the cooking of the food, like if you had somebody like outsourcing the cooking part,
you can just focus on hunting.
You can focus on the hunting, and same thing in business. If you're just better at sales, but you got to do sales and then delivering the product to the people. Yeah. It's very hard. You just want to like outsource part of it.
Yeah. I have to design this shit and I have to market it.
Yeah.
Like that is very hard. A different level of,
but then when you do that, then you have all this confidence, and you know exactly what the job entails.
Right. So then when you speak to your folks or the people that you employ, like you're not coming at it from an arrogant place.
No.
And they won't feel that.
Right.
They'll understand.
Makes you a better leader.
Yeah, it does. Because I think a lot of leaders do, like, they have an incredible amount of patience and coaching capacity.
Exactly.
For folks that are going to get on their level.
True.
Recognizing the learning curve, remembering that the learning curve they had to, like, you know, take on in order to get to where they are. So that way, like, they can be most effective and they don't have to keep searching for new talent.
Right. Those are the best leaders.
Yeah, they are.
That's right.
They are. And they recognize that, like, this person's in front of me for a reason, you know, and at least they read really well on paper. So, like, let's at least give them a shot or two, you know, to, like, really figure out their place here. And I think, but it comes from a place of, moving back to self-sustainability.
Right.
That, like, you should know how to be out there on your own in a certain field. Unfortunately, in this day and age, because of technology, the teams have gotten drastically smaller.
Right.
So, like, yeah, you might be a songwriter, but if you haven't figured out a way to, like, just pitch your demos in terms of you singing them, you know, like, it doesn't matter if the singing's good or not. It's the fact that this is a demo and you want to pitch it to somebody better. If you don't have a means to do that step, it gets that much more difficult now to get into a room with folks who know how to work the equipment that will dedicate that time for you, who isn't a one-stop shop. You just write music, you know. And so, like, I would encourage people always, like, in the music business, like, to become autonomous ASAP. Get your laptop, get a microphone that is a condenser microphone. Get yourself an interface, nothing fancy, bare minimum stuff, so that you can get yourself out there a little bit more. You can display your self-sustainability. So you have a place to, like, repeatedly create. Yes, exactly. Just always create. Get lost in the process. Yes. And improve, cultivate. Right. Excuse me. A couple of the folks that I work with, they're taking different vocal coaching lessons now. So that way the stuff that they send me is good, because they now get a sense of the process. Right. You know, and they're like, oh, actually it is 80% me, like what I put into this microphone. Sahir can't carry 50%. Like, if Sahir tries to carry 50% on the mix master process, it's going to show, and it's not going to be good. And, like, the greatest artists are given their acclaim, or the producers or the songwriters, whatever, they're given their acclaim because of that X factor, which it takes up 80% of what you hear. Their delivery, their tone, you know, their attitude. Then there's marketing teams, you know, that come in to, like, but, like, if you asked an artist to create a tactic for themselves, it's so hard. And I do feel for you, but you got to do it too. You have to figure out ways to get yourself out there using social media. You know, that's like the easiest, lowest overhead in terms of getting stuff out there. You can edit directly on TikTok, right. So, like, there's infinity amount of apps to use now. So you can't, so the excuses are so much, like, smaller or non-existent in terms of not being able to do things on your own. Other than, oh, you just don't want to open the app. And I stand guilty of that too. Like, I'm not speaking holier than thou ever. Like, but yeah, that's something I recognize. True. Yeah, that's right. Teams are, bro, like, you're right. Like, teams are a luxury. It comes on later, because then you've inspired others to want to focus in on maybe what you got going on. Or you become a luxury for somebody else, and you figure out where you can attach yourself and your skill set to. It's all about that. And you trade off in life. It's never one thing, you know, the whole time. It's never just that. So, like, that's something I hope, like, also artists can adjust. And I did that early on, like, in 08, which was like, I can just do the mix master here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to always be the artist. I don't need to always give them a verse. And so I put myself out there a couple of times like that, and I was like, oh, people are taking me up on it. Okay, let's go for it. Like, I think this is way more sustainable, you know? Like, this is now showing a different side of my worth. It's not making me feel like I'm now rubbing two twigs together, you know, trying to get the fire going. Like, oh, I made myself part of a team here. You know, that, okay, they're waiting on my mix now. And then after that, like, you get XYZ feedback, you start to realize, oh, there's a whole equation, you know, like, it doesn't feel as pressurized.
Absolutely. Like that communication with the team is also super important. Like you're mentioning, this is back and forth. Like, with any team growing any relationship, honestly, the communication is the most important thing. Like 100%. If you can communicate properly, like your needs and understand their needs, then you're set to start a team. Like
there meaning the people you employ, you're on your staff, or the people you're working with.
Yeah, your team members, your teammates.
Right.
Like understanding their needs and then being able to express your needs as well, communicating. That's so important, and that would just set people off to creating their own teams. Like in camping, like when we went camping, it was like. Canoeing is a very much of a team sport kind of thing. Like when you're canoeing with like another person in the canoe, or like some canoes can carry 3 people at once. Right. So like if it's 3 of us or 2 of us,
you all have oars.
Yeah, you all have oars. You all have to communicate. You have to know. You have to understand. You have to understand the other person's rhythm.
The pacing, the rhythm.
Yeah, you got to understand what they're going. And like, there were hilarious times where it's like, we brought in, other friends of ours, to camping. Yeah. And, they were meeting for the first time. They didn't have a relationship. So they were stuck in the same boat together because everybody else,
damn.
Everybody else glommed on,
to the familiar.
Teams, but like the unfamiliar two, new guys in the, canoe thing. Got put together, and then it was just hilarious because they didn't have communication, they didn't have a relationship, and the canoe was going like 360 because like one guy was going this way, the other guy had the other rhythm, like they were just not together, synced at all. And the canoe was just like going like this.
Speak to each other, like please.
It's hilarious.
Going around and around in circles, because they can't not communicating. Yeah. They probably just didn't know what they were in for.
Yeah, they
didn't know like the level of effort. And like, by the way, like this place where you guys like, disembarked, like was it like shallow water?
At the beginning,
right? Like when you go into it, right? Like it's like waist deep water kind of.
A little bit,
right?
Yeah.
So, that's like I thought about the first time I ever went kayaking. That's the last time I ever went kayaking. Like, you don't know what you're in for.
Right.
Like, you don't, like, people don't, and if you don't have somebody like maybe yourself who can tell people, like, yo, there's a exercise to this. Please start getting in shape now. Like, you have to row quite a bit. You will, it is taxing on your body. It was my 21st birthday. And we got a giant cabin in Tahoe.
Yeah.
It was great. It was like, there was like 19 of us.
Wow.
It was nuts. It was nuts. And
I told you, like in college days, like fuck ton of people just everywhere, right? Like that's a lot of people.
That's true. No,
going to a cabin.
You're right. You're right.
19 of us are going to go rent this cabin.
It's the cabin was,
wow.
The cabin was like one of those 7-bedroom behemoths, like and had like 3 floors to it. It was pretty fly, like, and we had a lot of fun.
Of course.
And
how many days?
It was 2 nights, so it wasn't too long. We did end up damaging the couch. I remember that.
Oh, damn.
I think we broke it for sure. But it's like, man, it's just gonna happen. Like, these are kids, bro, and you're renting to them. Like, the cabin was nice. Like, it was furnished well. So I remember when we got in there, we took some of the stuff down. Like away, so we wouldn't fucking damage it. So we do come from good households, but we do know it's about to get crazy. But anyway, we were not equipped to take on kayaking the following morning, also because you're partying.
Yeah.
And then you're like, we got a 9 a.m. Call time over there. They're gonna have our kayaks ready. So we did that. Everybody got out, and luckily for us, the house wasn't too far from the lake itself. So we got there, all of us. We got onto the kayaks. Man, I think we lasted about 10 minutes collectively as a group with the rowing before everyone got exhausted. Like, collectively, everyone just fell out. We're like, oh, wait, we got to go where? And everyone's looking on their, like those waterproof phones and shit. Like, we had a couple friends that had them. We're like, yeah, so we're here. We got to go around this big rock here. No. And then there's like actual waves now that we have to fight. It's like, no. don't even think we made it past that waist deep water until like I think like a couple of them just got out of the kayaks, flipped them over, started flipping everyone else over. We just started like goofing off like right there, and we had to kill another 45 minutes that we had with these kayaks, you know. So it wasn't. There's another lesson to be learned there too. Like maybe go with some guidance, you know, wherever you're going. Like try to seek out some form of guidance.
Mentors.
Yeah. Mentors, yeah, for sure. They would have told you, like, this is a physically demanding activity, you know, like this isn't like a regular boat. You can rely on the wind or some shit. Like, this is on your muscles and, like, how you decide to work with your partner. So there were a couple of them that I think knew what they were doing, but there's, like, a vast majority of us that were like, dog, what? Like, yeah, and we're kids like this. Like, we're not doing this. So,
yeah, good to just take that break, man. It's good to go somewhere and do something and come back, you know, refreshed and go for it. You know?
Yeah, go back to your daily grind.
Right. Man. Absolutely.
But I think doing this like is like different for us, right? It's something new. Right. And you get to learn new shit. Right. You get to gain a different perspective. Every time I leave here with you, I've learned something new. Man. So that I appreciate.
Yeah, same here. Every time we have these conversations, I'm learning new things, you know, and
if not just about you, about the world, you know, like,
both of us, you know, in different ways. And like what I love about this show, this podcast, like this brand that we're building, it's like what I love about it is that it's just incremental work, daily work, like little brick by brick, you know, and we're doing it out of a garage. Like there's some nostalgia to it, you know, there's this like feeling that we're building a brand, a startup, like from a garage, you know, like the age-old story.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly. You embody that kind of that
entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that feels really good. And then, like, you know, we just get to focus on the short term, like just the incremental, you know, laying the bricks. That's it.
Meeting up every week. Yeah, it's important, and then being open to this perspective building, right? Like, also the fact that it's self-sustainable. That was one of the bigger things that I think a lot of us could use. Is just figuring out ways to be on our own. Right. And having a platform such as this that doesn't necessarily, you know, require anyone else outside of us, at least in the beginning. Right. And of course there's team members, but the fact that you and I show up, we create this, it's something to like to fall back on, you know, something that can be a constant. Whereas like we always do, you and I both make ourselves available to various teams who we do very much appreciate, but having something of your own, you know, something that we can direct the trajectory of, it's important.
Yeah,
and we get to learn from each other.
Yeah,
in a way that I don't think is possible doing other things.
Right. So,
yeah, bro.
Yeah, and for me, it's like very awesome to like just create content. You know, I enjoy creating content, and this allows me to like this gives me an avenue to like create as much as amount of content I want, however I want to, like whatever the vision is.
Wide subject matter.
Yeah.
Like because we come from different, you know, walks and backgrounds, and although we might do one thing professionally or a few things professionally, we've encountered so many other experiences that I think can lend themselves to folks that might be hearing or watching or listening or watching.
Right. Yeah, it's important.
Hell yeah, bro.
It's a long journey, you know. It's like we are in the wilderness, you know, and we're gonna get to that destination, and it's
you make it all worth it.
Yeah, it definitely feels good, like it's rewarding. Yeah, and like you mentioned in other episodes, like you've mentioned it, where it's like if people can follow their passions and follow what their intuition is telling them to do, then they're just better off, happier people. Like if that's what people can chase and, you know, make money from it, that's like the perfect combination. The
recipe for a happy person.
Recipe.
Yeah.
And then your families are better off for it. Your next generations are better off for it.
They are, man.
It's so important, you know?
It's a chain reaction when you decide to make passion your bread and butter. Right. Because then when that pays off, it's like a different, like you said, there's a different effect.
Yeah, and then you get to live authentically, you know, to what you like, who you are.
Exactly.
You know, you get to live authentically, you know.
Exactly.
That's what we're about. Like we always say, live unfiltered.
Being kind to others is at the forefront.
Yeah. Lead with kindness. Yep. Live unfiltered.
Hell yeah.
Don't be an asshole. That's the That's
sir.
the key. All right, bro. That's the episode.
Hell
I'll see
yeah.
you next week. Peace.
Peace.